The old man didn't expect much out of life anymore. Morning started with black coffee, filtered through a dented tin pot older than some towns. The cabin creaked under familiar sighs of wind pressing through the pines. A dog, a mutt with a patchy tail and attitude, waited by the front door, staring at him like it always did, as though wondering what came next. Nothing came next. Not for the man. Not anymore. Baxter barked once, sharp and urgent. The man barely looked up. It wasn't a bark for danger or hunger, just a bark of boredom. He sipped the coffee and stared out into the fog rolling across the forest. The trees didn't care about time, and neither did he. But then Baxter barked again, twice. Not the same. Urgent. Alert. The man stood up slowly, not because of age, but because he'd unlearned urgency. He set the mug down and stepped onto the porch. The morning mist moved strangely, parted in a line along the grass like something had sliced it open. Baxter was growling, ears forward. Not afraid, just focused. "Baxter," he said firm. The dog didn't turn. Instead, it darted forward into mist, tail high, vanishing into the woods. He didn't curse, though the old man inside him wanted to. Baxter didn't run like that without reason. That dog had seen too much, had smelled too many lies in the world, to run for nothing. He pulled on his boots, grabbed the flashlight even though the sun was rising, and followed. It took 5 minutes to find him. 5 minutes of crunching leaves and sudden silence. Baxter stood ahead, ears perked, tail stiff, and behind him there was something on the ground. Not an animal, not a person. Something. The figure trembled when he approached. Thin, wrapped in torn, silken fabric that shimmered like wet moonlight. Hair like thin wires glowed faint blue at the edges. The face wasn't human. Not exactly. Too symmetrical. Eyes too wide, pupils shaped like vertical slits. The girl, if that's what she was, tried to crawl backward, but Baxter blocked her path. The dog didn't growl, didn't bark, just stood between her and the trees, tail wagging once, as if reassuring her. The man knelt. She flinched. He didn't reach out, just looked. "You hurt?" he asked quietly. She blinked. Her mouth moved. A sound came out, a melody, not a word. He didn't understand it, but the pain behind it didn't need translation. He stood and took off his jacket, setting it near her without touching. She looked at it, then at him. "I don't care where you're from. Cold's cold," he said. She touched the fabric. Her fingers were long, jointed differently. She pulled the coat around herself, eyes never leaving his. He nodded once. Baxter sat down next to her. He led them back slowly, glancing back every few steps to make sure she followed. She did, stumbling, weak. Her skin was a pale gray blue, and she left faint traces of some oily fluid where her feet met the forest floor. Blood? Oil? He didn't ask. Inside the cabin, she stood in the corner, eyes darting. He gestured to the couch. She didn't move. He poured water and set on the table. Slowly, like approaching a wild animal, she stepped forward, sniffed a cup, and drank. She winced with the first swallow, then drank again, faster. He microwaved soup. Chicken from a can. She sniffed it, hesitated, then dipped her fingers into it, tasting the broth. Her eyes widened. She ate the rest in seconds. She tried to speak again, soft syllables wrapped in harmonic overtones. He couldn't make sense of it. "We'll figure that part out later," he said. "What do I call you?" She touched her chest. "Ilari." It came out in 2 notes, like music. He tried to mimic it. She smiled just a little and nodded. He pointed to himself. "James." She repeated it, warbled, but close enough. Then she pointed at Baxter. He barked once. She flinched, then giggled. Actually giggled. A strange, fluting sound. He let her rest. She curled into the corner of the couch, jacket tight around her. Baxter sat beside her, guarding something she didn't know how to protect. That night, James watched her sleep. Her chest moved too fast for a human. Her fingers twitched, and the glowing strands of hair pulsed like fireflies. He didn't sleep, not because he was afraid, but because something inside him felt like it had started again. Something he'd buried. The next morning, she was standing at the window, staring at the sunrise. She made a sound. Odd. James handed her a boiled egg. She examined it, broke it open, sniffed it, and then ate with small bites. For 3 days, they learned from each other. She mimicked sounds, repeating words after hearing them once. He built flashcard with drawings. Tree, sun, water, fire, bird. She devoured it all. She picked up English faster than any human child. Not perfectly, but enough. Bad sky. They come. Hurt. He pushed gently. Who? She struggled. Varkeen. Cold machines. Not like me. I run. They break everything. He sat back, the weight of her fear settling over the room. She showed him her shoulder, pulling back the jacket. A small, round metal device was embedded just under her skin, flashing faintly red. Track. Pain. Control. He fetched his tools. She didn't flinch as he cut into her skin. She didn't even blink. The device popped out with a hiss, and he crushed it under his boot. You're not going back, he said. Her lip quivered. You help me? He nodded. You're here now. That makes you mine. Baxter barked again, wagging his tail, tongue lolling. She laughed, then hugged the dog tightly. He whined in protest, then gave up. Over the next week, she changed. Her posture straightened. Her voice became clearer. Her laughter came easier. James showed her old music, classical, jazz, rock, and she reacted to each with astonishment. She wept the first time she heard cello. Something in her responded on a level beyond words. She learned to cook eggs, learned to play fetch, learned to fix a broken fuse box using only a diagram he drew. One night, while they sat under the stars, she pointed upward. You, all this and still kind. James shrugged. Someone taught us early, don't kick the stray that's scared. She didn't speak for a while. Then, you different. You're kind, broken, but beautiful. He nodded. That's accurate. The next day, the sky screamed. A crackling hum vibrated through every metal object. Baxter growled before the sound even hit. Ilari screamed and dropped to her knees, covering her ears. Her hair flared bright blue. James dragged her inside. What is it? She gasped. Them. Varkeen. Close. Orbit. He stood still, calculating. She clutched his arm. They find me. Kill me. Maybe kill you too. He looked at her for a long time. No, they won't. He moved fast after that. The barn became a lab. Old electronics, ham radios, dish parts, copper wire, military surplus, all found new purpose. She helped. Her species had seen technology, but not built it, not touched it with dirty hands, and saw the burned fingers. She stared as he rewired a handheld radio to detect frequencies not listed on any human manual. You make it, not born with it. No one gave us anything, he said. We built it because we had to. You dangerous, she said, almost in awe. Only if you make us be. The night the ship passed overhead, the trees lit with white fire. No beam, no sound, just silent scanning. Ilari hid beneath the floorboards, trembling. James stood on the porch, shotgun in hand, staring up at the stars. They didn't land that night, but she knew they would soon. The silence between transmissions was what unnerved him the most. James had expected noise, encrypted chatter, digital sleet. Instead, the Varkeen systems blanketed the local spectrum like black water, present heavy and absolutely mute. Ilari recognized the pattern immediately. It was a suppression field. Passive silence designed to conceal their scans and block outgoing signals. Nothing got out. They hadn't landed yet, but they had arrived. He watched the sky with binoculars older than she was. She mapped orbital shifts with uncanny precision, sketching trajectories on scrap paper like constellations that shouldn't exist. The Varkeen ship, as she described it, wasn't a vessel in a human sense. It was a biomechanical hive, pulsing with integrated intelligence. No bridge, no crew in any centralized way. Just tendrils of linked processors and control bodies, each an extension of the ship's will. James listened carefully. There was a subtle difference between her telling a story and confessing a memory. This wasn't theory. She had lived it. They do not think in ones, she said. No self. No alone. They are web. They see like a virus. Alive in wrong place. He didn't flinch. And what do they do to viruses? She hesitated. Erase. Baxter growled low in his throat. The dog felt it too. The shift in the air, the weight of being watched. James had reinforced cabin. Not for battle. He wasn't suicidal, but for delay. Every second mattered. He had once been a systems engineer before retiring to the woods. Not military, not black ops. Just someone who understood machines and didn't need the world anymore. That detachment was now his edge. He didn't panic. He adapted. The first drone came on the fourth night. It didn't land. It simply hovered above the treetops, a featureless obsidian oval dripping with electromagnetic haze. Ilari sensed it before it arrived. She curled in on herself, teeth chattering, not from cold but from shared memory. She'd been wired into those systems once. Not voluntarily. Her mind still carried echoes of their protocols. James activated the radio jammer. Not to hide. That was useless. But to confuse. The jamming was wide-spectrum, erratic, and intentionally flawed, emitting a language that mimicked a primitive burst transmission but embedded wrongness at every level. The drone paused. Then, silently, it withdrew. Ilari looked at him, stunned. Why'd leave? Because I spoke, he said, just not in words. They spent the next day building decoys, heat signatures, scatter reflectors, motion lures. The forest became a trap, layered with unpredictable variables. Ilari provided patterns. Varkeen logic was efficient but brittle. They didn't improvise. They optimized. Humanity, by contrast, was improvisation incarnate. Duct tape and chaos held together their world, and somehow it still worked. The second drone arrived lower. It scanned, lingered, and dropped a pod the size of a beer keg. It embedded itself halfway into the earth and unfurled like a metallic flower. Then it pulsed, a soft tone, just on the edge of hearing. Ilari screamed and collapsed. James shot the device twice. The casing cracked. Smoke hissed out. The sound stopped. Later, she explained, it was a resonant call to subsystems, an awakening signal. Not for her. She was broken code to them. But for any latent hardware she might have left behind. It would have rewritten her brain if left running. He buried the remains in lead scrap, deep in the ravine. She looked at him that night with something new in her eyes. It wasn't just gratitude. It was recognition. You think like them, she whispered. No, he said. They think like machines. I just know how to break machines. The next day, he gave her the hammer. At first, she didn't understand. It was a simple sledgehammer, heavy, scratched, covered in rust and old paint. Hit the satellite dish, he said. She frowned. Why? Because it's broken. Because it's ours. Because I want you to. She obeyed. First strike clumsy. Second better. Third with a scream. She shattered the thing into bent metal and sparks. Then she dropped to her knees, sobbing. They made us build, she gasped. Always for them. Never for us. Then we break. James said softly. Her language improved. Her body healed faster than expected. She started dreaming again, real dreams, not memories. She described them to James with a kind of reverent confusion. In one, you burn sky. They run. He nodded. That's one of our older dreams. She cocked her head. You dream war. We dream freedom. Sometimes that means war. She didn't argue. When the first humanoid arrived, it didn't knock. It just appeared, standing 10 feet from the porch at sunrise, motionless, clad in armor like obsidian scales. No face, no breath, no warmth. Ilari panicked. James didn't. He stepped outside slowly, unarmed. The Varkeen construct turned its head. A voice, synthetic and devoid of emotion, echoed from within. Unit designation, rogue. Return organic system. You will not be harmed. James said nothing. Repeat. Surrender target. No consequence. Still nothing. Final request. James raised the old radio, clicked a switch. The jamming burst roared. The construct staggered. The second switch activated a buried microwave emitter. The construct dropped to one knee. Sparks sizzled across its surface. The third switch detonated the battery trap beneath its feet. A flash. No sound. Just light and motion and heat. When the smoke cleared, nothing remained but a molten crater. James walked back inside. That won't buy us much time. Ilari stood trembling. You didn't run, she said. Not my style. The cabin wasn't safe anymore. They moved deeper into the woods, an old Firewatch bunker from forgotten era. Concrete and steel, offline, unconnected to anything. He'd found it years ago and left it alone. Now, it became their sanctuary. Inside, Ilari helped him rig a new broadcast array. But this time not to jam, to signal. He used an old idea. Bounce signals off the moon. Low frequency. Wide arc. He didn't ask permission. He didn't encrypt. The message was simple. Contact. Human. Immediate response required. Extraterrestrial presence hostile. Civilians at risk. He looped it, then waited. Ilari didn't sleep much anymore. She started drawing in the dirt. Circuits. Strange alphabets. Memories of her home before captivity. There were colors in her language that didn't exist in human physics. One morning, she brought him a drawing. I remember this, she said. Before machines. Before them. He stared. It was a tree, but not. Grown from crystal. Branches that sang when wind touched them. They came for the core of us, she said. For the singing stones. They needed vibration structures for control systems. So they took our world. And you? Too small to fight. So I ran. You're not small anymore. The next day, a signal came. Short wave. Human encryption. Rough. Sloppy. But human. A call sign. Foxtrot 9. James replied immediately. Within 6 hours, a voice responded. American accent. Female. Professional. You're broadcasting on a dead frequency. This is a restricted channel. I don't care, James said. Extraterrestrial threat present. Biological refugee on site. Targeted. Hostile drones encountered. Human assets at risk. Silence. Then identify yourself. James Holden. Civilian. Former R&D systems engineer. Tier 3 clearance. Code word Talons Black. Another pause. Then say again, you heard me.